This isn't an attempt to spark controversy, honestly. I'm not even sure what one of those so-called flame wars really looks like. Instead, this is a calm, thoughtful exploration of a creative space and its surrounding community, as I've come to know it. Naturally, others may see things differently, and that's totally fine. I welcome those perspectives. To begin, let's talk about a few of the websites that have historically brought together people from across the world with a shared interest in transformation-themed storytelling. One of the earliest and most iconic was a little corner of the web called Fictionmania. I won't pretend to know every detail about its origins or the full challenges faced by its dedicated founder, Mindy. But I do know that when Fictionmania went offline, it felt like the end of an era. Some even compared it to the fall of Rome. Let's unpack that metaphor for a moment. In the beginning, small forums and niche sites were the first gathering places, digital villages, if you will. From that soil, Fictionmania emerged as a larger hub, built on passion, creativity, and persistence. But like all things, it didn't last forever. After Fictionmania's closure, many of its longtime visitors branched off to create new communities. Some flourished, while others gradually faded. Some platforms that once glowed with regular content updates now go quiet for months at a time. Sites like the Transformation Art Archive, Lana's platform, and Jennifer's once vibrant pages seem to have slipped into digital memory, though their impact still lingers. To be clear, history isn't always clean-cut. Even when one site dims, others quietly thrive. And in the broader picture, new voices and visions continue to keep the spirit of creativity alive. But some sites are thriving, drawing in vibrant communities. If Fictionmania was Rome, then Crystal's site might be considered the Constantinople of this genre. And even Fictionmania still endures, maintained by a devoted team of volunteers. The future of these platforms seems bright. New stories continue to emerge, fresh voices find their rhythm, and creative ideas flow freely. What's most heartening is the sense of real community that has grown. It's a space where people can open up about their hopes, their struggles, their dreams, and yes, even their wildest imaginings. Where they can connect with others who truly understand their journey. That brings us to art, a term I use to encompass everything from altered photography and digital drawings to short fiction and serialized prose. It's all a form of creative expression. Even writing a single line to accompany an image is like crafting a tagline for a movie, concise, compelling, maybe even a little whimsical. Interestingly, while images and videos often stick to visual transformation themes, the written side of the genre explores a broader range. From futuristic science fiction to personal journeys of identity and transition, from magical transformations to metaphorical storytelling, it's a wide spectrum. Some narratives focus on bodily transformation, others on emotional shifts, and some dive into fantastical or surreal scenarios, like becoming an object or adopting a completely new form. While these may seem distant from real-life experiences, they often reflect deeper themes of identity, desire, and discovery. There may be debate on what belongs in this genre, but that's the beauty of creativity. Everyone brings their own lens. I have my preferences too, and I'll touch on those later. So, is it possible to unite all of these varying expressions under one umbrella? Can we really categorize them all as part of the same genre? Maybe not perfectly, but they all orbit the idea of transformation, of identity, and of what it means to see or be seen in a new way. Even stories that involve clothing changes or mannequin metaphors tend to carry underlying themes of self-image, longing, and societal expectations. They echo the idea that transformation is not just physical, but emotional and symbolic too. Unfortunately, mainstream media hasn't always done justice to these themes. Occasionally, a TV show includes a gender-diverse character, but the portrayals often lack nuance. Too often, the storylines are played for shock or humor rather than respect and authenticity. One exception was a subplot on Ally McBeal, which tried to offer a more honest portrayal, but even that leaned into spectacle at times. Personally, I'd love to see a full series, maybe something with the heart of Will and Grace, featuring a transgender lead, played by a transgender actor. Humor could be part of it, of course, but not at the expense of real emotional storytelling. And if I'm dreaming big, a magic-based series would be incredible too. There's so much creative potential in stories where transformation is literal and symbolic at the same time. Now, a series exploring gender and identity themes would allow characters to grow and evolve across multiple episodes. Unfortunately, most films, unless part of a franchise, don't have that luxury. They get about 2 hours to tell the whole story. That limited format has inspired a number of indie films and documentaries that address transgender themes, as well as some visually creative works in the sci-fi and fantasy genres. When fictional transformation is the premise, the story's success relies on 2 key elements. First, it needs to suspend disbelief. If the transformation feels forced or implausible, viewers won't emotionally connect with the protagonist. Second, it needs characters that feel real. A story about a scientist testing an invention that goes too far has been done many times, long before Dr. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde. But without emotional authenticity, even the best twist falls flat. It's a tall order for any film. Some claim there are no original stories left, but I believe it's more about a lack of bold writing and studios playing it safe with tried-and-true formulas. This pattern appears even in the broader art community. Many transformation stories tend to follow familiar arcs, often leading to irreversible outcomes. The character embraces a new identity almost immediately. They adjust to a new lifestyle, form romantic connections, and move forward as if there's no internal conflict. Some stories include humorous or fantastical takes on learning about gendered experiences, navigating clothing, social norms, or even quirky daily routines. But often, these stories don't leave room for ambiguity or resistance. There's a recurring theme of characters discovering joy in their new identity so quickly that their internal struggle feels glossed over, as if the transformation fixes everything instantly. And while that can make for a satisfying fantasy arc, it's not always reflective of real-life complexity. Growth and self-discovery often come with setbacks and questions. In some stories, the transformation becomes the final moment. Others opt for a feel-good ending. The character becomes a model, an entertainer, or otherwise thrives in a new world. While these can be fun, they don't always explore the nuanced emotional reality that could make such stories richer. Ultimately, transformation fiction, like all storytelling, can be more powerful when it embraces complexity. When characters have space to question, adapt, and grow. That's where real connection happens. Are exaggerated sound effects and drawn-out reactions really necessary in storytelling? Do they actually help convey intensity, or are they just filler that distracts from the heart of the scene? Personally, I think it's often a shortcut. Instead of creating thoughtful, character-driven moments, writers fall back on cliches. It might feel easier, but ironically, it often bloats the scene with more words and less meaning. One recurring trope that leaves me puzzled is the mind alteration twist. If a character undergoes a transformation, only to have their personality completely rewritten, what's the point of the journey? It removes growth. It's like telling It's a Wonderful Life, but stopping the film right after George jumps off the bridge. Or like making Psycho end when Janet Leigh is killed. No payoff. No arc. Just a moment, and then nothing. Now, some magic-based or science fiction transformation stories avoid that trap. They offer a what-if journey. What if someone's life took a radically different turn? The strength of those stories is in the emotional change, not just the physical one. That's the problem with many transformation stories. They simplify complexity. Some are personal narratives or expressions of identity, but others become shallow fantasy loops. Instead of showing what it means to change, they fast forward to the result. It's like watching a film, but only through the reflection of a screen. I've read heartfelt, real-life accounts, many by amateur writers. Some were bittersweet, others haunting, a few even nostalgic. And despite lacking polish, They left a deeper impact than most fictional transformation stories I've come across, except one, which may have been fictional but hit like truth. So, what's the point of this critique? Am I trying to dismiss all lighthearted or idealized fiction? Not at all. I've written it too. It's fun, it's accessible, and it's where many writers start. But it's also easy to rely too much on fantasy formulas. Too often, the central characters are idealized archetypes, perfect, effortless transformations, romantic encounters without complications, or worlds where everything falls into place. And because these are often rooted in personal dreams, they lean too heavily into the positives, leaving out the contrast that makes a story truly powerful. Great storytelling balances highs and lows. It introduces conflict, emotional stakes, and small changes that build over time. Take It's a Wonderful Life. The story begins with the low point. George Bailey is ready to give up. The flashback structure gives depth, and the true turning point comes when George experiences what the world would be like without him. The return to his life brings a sense of earned joy. That's powerful. Even in more subtle scenes, like in the movie Contact, small emotional shifts carry meaning. When Ellie loses access to the array in New Mexico, it mirrors earlier losses in her life. The storytelling creates connection not through spectacle, but through emotion. That's the kind of layered storytelling I'd love to see more of, whether in fiction, film, or transformation narratives. Stories where characters change because they've faced challenges, not simply because they've arrived at a predetermined outcome. That's not to say Contact is a perfect film. Some of its emotional parallels are a bit on the nose, but it's a solid example of how transitions, both literal and symbolic, can be portrayed in a compelling way. So in closing, let me be clear. I'm not here to tell anyone how to write. I understand that many writers explore personal ideas and emotions through stories, whether they're grounded in identity, imagination, or transformation. Some envision ideal versions of themselves. Others explore themes like identity, acceptance, or the desire to change physically or emotionally. These stories can be powerful expressions of longing, curiosity, or hope. All I ask is this: along with expressing those deep feelings and imaginative concepts, tell a story. A real story. One with heart, character, and movement. One that stays true to its emotional core and respects the journey. To the writers who already do that, you have my deepest respect. And to those behind the scenes, the people building and maintaining community websites, editing submissions, updating pages, and keeping these spaces alive, you are the quiet heroes of this genre. Thank you for keeping the creative light burning.